few of them. There is someone in the gospel list called Simon the Zealot. How many are familiar with him? In other gospel, yes, maybe Iscariot too, because we'll show you in this book that Iscariot is related, of course, to Sicarii or Sicarios, and we'll see that we have various problems relating to that, which I'll pick up towards the end of what I'm going to say and let you give me some questions, because it's too complex to do it in 5 seconds here, or even in a half hour. But I just wanted to raise these motives. Well, there are other brothers. There is, as we know from the Gospels, James, Simon, Jude, and Joseph. I want to show you that this Simon is Simon the Zealot, one of the apostles, just as James is James the son of Alphaeus. And we draw these identifications very carefully over long argumentation, so you'll be able to see the parallels, and from other sources that even make these identifications. There's a lost manuscript of Papias from the latter part of the 1st century that may not be ascribed properly, but it makes these identifications that James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon, etc., and Joses were the sons of Cleophas and Mary. So we'll show you also that Alphaeus is Cleophas, etc., etc. So there's a whole section on the other brothers, but it also turns out that Jesus has a cousin, James has a cousin called Simeon Bar Cleophas. He is the second successor to James and the leader of the Jerusalem church, so-called. Well, Jerome, and I'll explain that to you in a moment, was the first person who decided that Jesus' brothers were not really brothers but cousins. What if Jesus' brothers are cousins or vice versa, then Simeon Bar Cleophas is the same as Jesus' brother called Simon. In fact, I think they are identical, and I'll show you why. And we have other sources about Simon the Zealot. So all of those are recapitulated for you. Let's go back. I said, watch the brother theme, and you will never go wrong. The battleground in the whole argument is the book of Acts. Now, if you know, most scholars don't deal tremendously much with Acts. If they do, they depreciate Acts. A lot of scholars I know don't even accept Acts as an historical document. I do accept it as an historical document. But the first 15 chapters of Acts are tremendously worrisome. In chapter 16, right after the Jerusalem conference, what we call the we document cuts in. And there, James emerges in no uncertain terms. That is, in Paul's final visit to Jerusalem, do you remember that? In chapter 21, Acts, he comes up and James is clearly the leader. But a lot of people confuse him with the other James. And I'm sure many of you are confusing him. Who's the other James? James, the son of Zebedee, the brother of John. Well, he's already been killed in Acts, I think it is 12. He's already been removed when our James makes his first entrance. So this can't be James, the son of Zebedee. The only James this can be is James, the brother of Jesus. But Acts doesn't tell us who this James is. We only know that he's the leader of the community, and we have to go to outside sources. And finally, it is he that sends Paul into the temple, he that makes Paul pay for four others under Nazirite oath, where Paul gets mobbed and arrested. And Acts is basically following Paul's narrative. Acts leads off in 62 A.D. with Paul under loose house arrest, preaching freely in Rome. Most of us don't think that Paul died till 66 or 68. It doesn't cover those later years. But who died in 62? James. How do we know it? Josephus. James was killed in Jerusalem in 62, but Acts doesn't tell us about it. Why? Oh, it wasn't the point of its narrative, but you mean such an important event, the leader of the whole church, the leader of the Jerusalem community anyway, sometimes he's called bishop, sometimes he's called archbishop, shouldn't be covered in Acts when it ends in 62? I think it should be covered. And I think the original sources did cover it. This is what I mean about the written out. I'll give you a few other examples of writing out, and then I'll take some questions to focus me on things you're interested in. We know from where? Multiple sources. Eusebius, quoting Hegesippus from the 2nd century, Origen in the 3rd century, Jerome in the 4th and 5th centuries, and others, that James was elected as leader of the early church. And this occurred, supposedly, according to Eusebius, right after Jesus was taken up to heaven. Where is it in the book of Acts? It's not there. Why not? Acts has another episode. What does Acts have right after Jesus is taken up to heaven, or in the context of Jesus being taken up to heaven, or right succeeding it? The election of who? A minor character called Matthias. A minor character called Matthias. And the defeated character, notice, is who? Justus. What is James' Latin name? Justus. The defeated character is someone called Justus Barsabbas, whom we never hear from again. Are you gentlemen coming in?
How you doing today, sir? What's the speech about? Can you let me know that? I was just passing through the library and I heard you speaking, so I thought I had to stop all by. I guess I don't get an answer on that one.
Peace.
Welcome to the Okay. What's the speech conversation was about? It's about James, the brother of Jesus. All right, well, what did James have to do with this one? All right, I'll step on up. I don't want to speak through today.
Pardon me, people like that worry me. And you understand why. Look, we're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings here. What we're trying to do is to resurrect people from the oblivion they have been cast into in history. We're not hurting anything that Christianity has to say, because we're taking a brother of Jesus and bringing him back into life. You know, I think if Jesus